My name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today I'm going to be covering the new Killer Tune cards. This was requested by the Tanky Crowbar, who is one of my paid members, so of course I decided to make the video right away. If you are interested in seeing content that you request, you can become a subscriber, like, comment, join the Discord. I have a spot for requesting stuff in the Discord, and I always listen to that sort of thing. And become a member. Alright, so let's get started. First things first, Killer Tunes are a synchro deck, and every one of the monsters in it is a tuner monster, including the synchro monsters themselves. And all of the cards lock you into synchro or special summoning only tuners. So not just the synchro monsters that you summon, but also like the monsters that you would summon from hand or graveyard. The benefit of Killer Tune is that they can special summon themselves during the opponent's turn 0 from your hand, which gives them similar ability to canines and bestials. The problem is that even though you can get some pretty decent interruption if you mix these, canine locks you. Or not canine, Killer Tune locks you. The other decks don't. Bestials don't lock you, canines don't lock you. So you would have to use the Killer Tune cards last, which does limit their ability to actually impact the board if you're going to do this in like a big, like you're trying to basically go blind second and ruin your opponent's first turn. It's an interesting idea and it definitely could work, but you know, you have to keep the lock in mind. If you are just going to play pure Killer Tune, which the deck seems to try and convince you to do, I feel like it's not quite enough. But let's talk about the cards. First up, we have a Killer Tune Mix. This is a level 2 Wind Warrior monster, and it's a tuner. 100 attack, 2000 defense. If this card on the field would be used as synchro material, one tuner in your hand can be used as one of the other materials. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once each per turn. So Killer Tune Mix, remember that, so these synchro monsters, these tuner monsters are all different levels. So keep that in mind, keep the levels in mind when we're talking about the synchro monsters that you can make. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Killer Tune monster from your deck graveyard to your hand except a level 2 monster. So I think they're all level 3s or level 2s, so you can just pick a level 3. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Okay, that's a pretty good effect. So since this card can be used as synchro material in the hand, that means that all of the Killer Tune cards have this ability. So if you have the card that summons itself during your opponent's turn then immediately synchro summons, you can use Killer Tune Mix to combine with it, and then you can immediately destroy one card your opponent controls, one monster, so you can interrupt their plays pretty significantly. That's what we're looking at here. Speaking of which, Killer Tune Clip. This is the card that's like, this is the good card. This is basically the only reason why people are even talking about this deck. Level 2 Dark Thunder monster, 800 attack, 1000 defense. Ooh, it's got 800 attack and 1000 defense. Does this work with Monarchs then? If this card on the field would be used as synchro material, one tuner in your hand can be used as one of the other materials. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. During your opponent's main phase, as a quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, then immediately as effect resolves, you can synchro summon one tuner monster. Okay, so this card allows you to, you play it from your hand, and then you can immediately synchro summon. And its effect also says if this card is set to the graveyard as synchro material, you can banish one random face-down card from your opponent's extra deck. So, you play Killer Tune Clip while your opponent has a card out. You can synchro summon it with the Killer Tune Mix into a level 4. Then you get the level 4 tuner monster out, and you also get to banish one random card from your opponent's extra deck face down and pop one of their monsters. Is that good? You're using 2 cards out of your hand, so I guess it kind of depends on the synchro monster that you're making, but it does seem like it's fairly useful. The main problem is, while yes, this can be useful interruption, you are you're basically putting your chips in the basket here. You're giving your opponent the opportunity to take a shot at your level 4 synchro monster before it's even your first turn. And if they remove it, even if you manage to interrupt them a little bit, then you're down 2 cards from your hand. So will you be able to actually keep playing the game is the question. It is an interesting question to ask. Alright, next up we have the first level 3 monster, Killer Tune Rico. This is a level 3 Fire Fiend tuner with 1500 attack points, 800 defense points. If this card on the field would be used as synchro material, one tuner in your hand can be used as one of the other materials. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Killer Tune monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, except a level 3 monster. Okay, so this card can either search or recover, and it adds any level 2. Pretty decent. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target one spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. It's nice to have that effect, but it's probably the least useful of them. I really don't think there are going to be too many situations where your opponent has a spell or trap that you absolutely have to destroy, but in the instances that there is, great, you have the option. First, Synchro Monster. This is the level 4. Killer Tune Trackmaker. This is a light machine synchro tuner monster with 0 attack points and 2,500 defense points. It requires a Killer Tune tuner plus 1 or more tuner monsters. So, the synchro monsters cannot be made with non-tuner monsters, which is kind of like, that's the weird part. So, you can use other tuner monsters besides Killer Tune tuners, but you can't use, like, Bestial Magnemite. You can't use, Tenpai Dragon Chundra. Well, I mean, you can use Chundra because it's a tuner, but you can't use, like, Tenpai Dragon Fadra, for example. So, you have to kind of really think about what the rest of your deck is going to look like, because I really don't know that this deck works pure. And the question is, what else can you combine it with? Possibly Sword Soul. That's what I was thinking. Maybe you make it with Sword Soul. The tuners in Sword Soul are all level 4, which makes it a little bit awkward to make a few of these, but maybe that's all you need is good level 4 tuners, because the level 2 and 3s kind of get covered by the archetype. If this card on the field would be used... Okay, so the Synchro Monster also has this effect of, if this card on the field would be used as synchro material, one tuner in your hand can be used as one of the other materials. And there is a level 6, so you can potentially make this card with 2 level 2s, then make the level 6 with this card and a level 2. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. If this card is special summon, not synchro summon, if it's special summon, so you can use this if you revive it too. You can add one Killer Tune card from your deck to your hand. So a spell, trap, or monster. Really good. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can return one card your opponent controls to the hand without targeting. Really nice effect. That's basically Seals, and Seals is good. Alright, next up we have the level 5 Killer Tune Remix, which is a Dark Warrior synchro monster. 1500 attack, 2000 defense, which is terrible stats for a level 5. It requires Killer Tune Mix plus 1 or more tuners. So Killer Tune Mix is the level 3, I believe. Or no, was Killer Tune Mix was the first monster we saw. The level 2. Yes, this one. Okay, so this is, so you need to make her, you need to use her in a level 3, basically. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. This card gains 1500 attack points while your opponent has a tuner on their field or in their graveyard. That part's weird. And this is not the only card that has an anti-tuner effect. Yes, synchro decks do exist. Yes, there are plenty of people who play synchro decks. But I wouldn't say that synchro decks are dominant in the meta right now. I think, what are the best decks? Like Vanquish Soul and... Vanquish, oh, Yummy is really good. Okay, okay, Yummy is really good, but you got Vanquish Soul, Draco Tail, Malice, and Ryzeal. None of those are synchro decks. So, it's weird that they're like, hey, you can only attack with this card if your opponent has synchro monsters. And there's no way for you, before you ask, there's no way for you to give your opponent a tuner either. The other weird thing is, like, even if you fight synchro decks, some of them don't even get impacted by this. Like, for example, Sword Soul doesn't actually play any tuners. I mean, other than Ecclesia, because the tuners that they use are tokens that get removed from the game forever once they're used as synchro material. Then you also have Centurion. Centurion, the cards go into their back row. That's interesting. It does say while your opponent has a tuner on their field or in their graveyard. Technically speaking, while Primera is in your opponent's continuous trap zone, it still has the word tuner written on it. So I assume that counts. But again, this is just a translation of a card. We don't typically know how the cards work until we've actually seen them function in Japanese. These really early rough translations don't necessarily always make a whole lot of sense in the end. But it does appear like if the monster is put in the spell and trap zone, as long as it still says tuner on it, you gain 1500 attack points. Alright, the other effect is during your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you contribute this card. Take 2 non-synchro tuner monsters from your graveyard, add one of them to your hand, and if you do special summon the other, then immediately last effect resolves. You can synchro summon 1 tuner. So, you can tribute this card, and then you get to revive one of your guys, add the other one to your hand, and then, but they can't, neither of them could be synchros. And then you can immediately, like, tag in, because the one in your hand and the one in the field can be used as material as long as you are playing Killer Tune. It's a cute idea, but it's not like this is all... I mean, it lets you tag into your, like, to a synchro monster on your opponent's turn, which I can see the benefit of that. The benefit of that is basically that you get to reuse your tuner monsters when this card is used as synchro material grave effect on your opponent's turn to pop a card or banish a card from their extra deck. But is that going to be enough? I don't know. I feel like this deck does not do very well going first. And if this is the best thing they can do on turn 2 to make sure that they don't lose the game next turn, you're only swinging in for 1500. Like, at best, if your opponent is playing synchro, you swing in for 3000. But that's not going to kill them. And then you have to pass and be like, well, now I can synchro into my level 4 and pop, you know, a few cards. I'm not too convinced. Next up, we have the other level 5, which is Killer Tune Red Seal. This is a combination of Killer Tune Rico plus 1 or more tuners. Killer Tune Rico is the level 3, so a level 3 plus the 2. It's a Dark Fiend synchro with 1700 attack and 2400 defense. You can only use each of the following effects. You can only use the third effect of this card's name once per turn. Gains 300 attack for each tuner in the graveyards. Okay, this applies to both players' graveyards. This is significantly better. Let's say that you have 4 tuners in your graveyard, 2900 attack points. It's not like great for a boss monster, but as far as a level 5 goes, it's fairly good. The levels of monsters your opponent controls with 1700 or less original attack points are increased by 1. They keep doing this. They keep printing cards like the 6 Samurai card that and the Speedroid cards that mess with the levels of monsters specifically to make Synchro and Xyz players annoyed. Which is really funny. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea that Synchro is like constantly messing with Synchro and Xyz decks specifically. But I mean, you do have to have something to answer fusions and links as well. So, we'll have to see. During the main phase, as a quick effect, you can banish 1 tuner from your graveyard, then target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. Okay, so this card is reasonable. And in particular, this card is actually pretty decent to make on turn 0 with the with this guy. So you summon this guy, you use this guy and her as material, and then you synchro into Red Seal. Then you get to banish one of your opponent's cards face down. If they have a spell or trap, you can destroy it. Then you get to banish one of your tuners from the graveyard, probably Rico, and negate one of your opponent's cards until the end of the turn. So it is an Omni-Negate, but the main problem is that like this deck seems to be focused on a lot of recursion, so banishing a card from your graveyard does seem like it's a pretty big drawback. Still, it's good interruption. Alright, then we have the level 6. Killer Tune Loudness War, level 6 Light Machine Tuner monster. And it has 0 attack points. So this is your big boss monster. 0 attack, 3000 defense, 1 tuner plus 1 or more tuners. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Other tuners you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, your opponent cannot target them with card effects. Okay, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good protection. When your opponent activates a card or effect as a quick effect, you can banish one killer tune monster from your graveyard. Apply its effect that activates if it was sent there to the graveyard as synchro material. So you have to lose the card from your graveyard. You can't use its effect, ever again. But you get to destroy one card your opponent controls, whether it's a monster or a spell. You can bounce a card. You can banish a card from your opponent's extra deck face down. Only once per turn, but that is interruption. It is pretty decent. Okay, that's it for the monsters from the initial pack. Now there is one other monster which is not on this page. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm not going to be able to show it to you guys on screen, but the last monster that was just revealed is Killer Tune Q, which is a level 3 light fairy tuner monster with 900 attack points and 1900 defense points. If this card on the field would be used as synchro material, one tuner in your hand can be used as one of the other materials. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is normal summon, only if it's normal summon, not if it's special summon. You can special summon one tuner from your hand, deck, or graveyard except Killer Tune Q. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except tuners. Now that is a very powerful effect. It lets you special summon any tuner that you want from anywhere in the game. But you can't special summon for the rest of the turn except tuner monsters. That's kind of rough. Is Polar Star a tuner? Because the immediate thing that I think about is Ursartix in this situation. But okay, Polar Star is not a tuner. What about Polari? Polari is also not a tuner. Well, darn. Okay. So, and then one of the other problems that you're going to have, the biggest problem that you're going to have is that, while yes, you could theoretically synchro summon something that is a tuner from outside of the Killer Tune archetype, the problem is all the other synchro monsters require non-tuners as material. So you have shut yourself off from summoning a non-tuner monster to use as material to make a non-Killer Tune tuner monster with this amazing effect. And it doesn't trigger. Killer Tune Q's effect does not trigger if it is normal, if it is special summon. This has to be your normal summon. And you are also locked out of special summoning non-tuners for the rest of the turn, even from outside the extra deck. So the only way that you can potentially use this to synchro summon a tuner monster that is not a Killer Tune monster is to have special summoned a non-tuner before you started your play. Now granted, you can do that with Kashtira, for example, but I don't know that there are any level 8 or higher synchro tuner monsters that you could use. I'm sure there's at least one, but I don't know how good it is. So it really does seem like this is a really powerful effect. Don't get me wrong. Killer Tune Q has a lot of really cool applications, but the problem is it's with the restriction like this, it really does feel like it is it only works in Killer Tune and nothing else. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can banish the top 2 cards of, you can excavate the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Banish one excavated card, place the other on the top or the bottom of the deck. Now that is insanely good. That is a very powerful effect. You get to look at 2 cards on your opponent's deck. You get to just take one of them and banish it. And then the other one, you get to choose whether your opponent gets access to it or not. So you could literally take the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck and get rid of both of them. But if you see that when your opponent has a hand trap or a dead card that you don't really worry about, you just be like, oh, sure, yeah, you can have this back. Yeah, you want Droll? Yeah, you can have Droll. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this Sword Soul of Mo-Yi, and you can have this Droll. There you go. That is a very, very powerful effect. So yes, I really like Killer Tune Q as far as its abilities. I don't know that it's necessarily in a good deck though. All right, so now we go to the spells and traps. Killer Tune Synchro, quick play spell card. You can only activate 2 cards with this name per turn. So that's the thing that Killer Tunes have, which is really weird. In addition to being able to synchro summon with only tuner monsters, all of their spells and traps seem to be hard twice per turn, which is I don't think we've ever really had something like that. So you can play Killer Tune Synchro twice per turn. You cannot special summon for the rest of this turn after this card resolves except for tuner monsters. Also, add one Killer Tune card from your deck to your hand, except Killer Tune Synchro. Then immediately after its effect resolves, you can Synchro summon one tuner. So this is a quick play spell card. So you can use this as a starter and not worry about the Synchro effect. You can also then, during your opponent's turn, set this card, draw a card from your deck to your hand. And remember, you can use the cards in your hand as Synchro material for a Killer Tune Synchro, and then Synchro summon into something to, like, maybe pop a card, or maybe look at the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck and banish one of them face down, that sort of thing. So this is a very good card. The problem is that, like, we've seen all the Killer Tune Synchros, and they're not amazing. They have, like, there's an Omni Negate if you banish a card from your graveyard once per turn, and that's about it. Next up, we have their field spell, Juke Joint Killer Tune. You can only use the third effect of this card's name once per turn. During your main phase, you can normal summon one tuner monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. Okay, so that, I'm actually kind of worried that Blue Eyes will probably play this, because they love getting extra normal summons on their tuners, and this is something they can do in addition to playing Mausoleum of White. And all you have to do is you search Mausoleum of White with your Link 1. Then you can use the Blue Eye Spirit Dragon to go into Ancient Fairy Dragon, and then the Ancient Fairy Dragon draws you the destroys your Mausoleum of White, draws you the Killer Tune. You get another normal summon of one of your tuners. Normal summon another Sage with Eyes of Blue. Search another effect failure, and then you Synchro summon the AFD and the Sage with Eyes of Blue into Assault Synchro Stardust Dragon, and then revive a tuner, and then go into another spirit. Which, that might sound like a lot of work for very little benefit, but every point of interaction that Blue Eyes gets is very dangerous for this. Killer Tune Loudest War you control gains 3,300 attack points while your opponent has a tuner on their field or in their graveyard. So your amazing boss monster that's level 6 and protects your whole board with 0 attack points can gain 3,300 attack points, but only against other Synchro decks. Great. You contribute one tuner, add to your hand, or special summon one Killer Tune monster from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon for the extra turn except tuners. So you can tribute any tuner, which means that you can potentially tribute Ash Blossom, Ghost Bell, Ghost Ogre, and special summon a Killer Tune monster from your deck, which triggers its effect except for Killer Tune Q, because Killer Tune Q only triggers off of a normal summon. And you cannot special summon for extra deck of the rest of the turn except, or you can't special summon at all for the rest of the turn except tuners. It's a pretty rough effect. Okay. The primary benefit of Juke Joint Killer Tune is the extra normal summon lets you trigger Q's effect if you had to search Q off of another card, because Q only triggers off of normal summons, so having an extra normal summon is very useful. This is a really good card for Killer Tune, but again, the anti-synchro in particular does not seem like it's very useful. Next up, we have Killer Tune Playlist, which is a normal trap card that you can activate twice per turn. Target one Killer Tune monster you control or that is in your graveyard. Apply these effects in sequence. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn after this card resolves except tuner monsters. Apply its effect that activates if it was sent to the graveyard as Synchro material, and then also return it to the hand. That's really good. But again, that raises the question of, okay, you know, this is the second card that we've had that says, hey, you can return a tuner so that you can keep using its effect in the graveyard. Why do we have so many cards that banish cards for cost? These cards seem like they fight with each other quite a lot. So if I return a card from my graveyard to my hand, I can't banish it for the cost of either the level 6 or the level 5. I don't know. Okay. And that's it. Okay. Alright. Is that it? I feel like I saw another card. No, that's it. Okay. Alright, great. So that is it for Killer Tunes. My thoughts, the limitations of being locked into just tuners and only being able to synchro summon tuner monsters, but not having non-tuners, it really feels like, I don't know, it feels like they want this to be super open and you can play it in basically any synchro deck, but at the same time, since you can't summon non-tuners, you can't synchro summon anything other than these monsters. I guess you could, since you get the extra normal summon, I guess you could potentially play just Sword Soul do full Sword Soul combo, and then after that, activate your field spell, normal summon the Q, and then synchro into Loudress War and pass on that. I guess it's, you know, I mean, so I don't know. Maybe it's like an optional other archetype that you could pair with Sword Soul besides Tenyi, but the problem is that they're not Wyrms. I don't know of any other synchro decks that would really be able to pull this sort of thing off. Resonators lock themselves into Dark Dragons. Centurion is 8 and 12. Definitely not levels that this deck is going to help them put out. And I mean, I maybe it's supposed to be combined with Yummy. I admittedly haven't looked at Yummy too closely, so maybe the idea is that you play Killer Tune and Yummy together, especially since they were released so close together. Yummy's, all of the Yummy Synchro monsters are tuner monsters, but they're all level 2. So you can't use any of the Killer Tune monsters to make them, because the Killer Tune monsters all have a minimum level of at least 2. So no, it doesn't even go into Yummy either. I don't know what the point of all this is. Well, anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please make sure to like or subscribe. My name is Sarafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.